Hi, welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. My name is Don Pelto, and I have Josh and Artem here, and they are from Neatsy, a new app that is used initially as a pilot to help find foot problems with this app. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. So Art, I hear, he is in Poland, and Josh is probably more local. And I don't know who wants to initially tell the backstory about kind of how this idea came up.
Yeah, let me maybe start. This whole idea came as during the pandemic. We wanted to create the app that helps people to find the best fitting shoe, the best fitting sneaker for different kind of sports, whether it's running, training at the gym, or basketball, or just the everyday use. And it's kind of my personal problem. I have overpronation, and it hurts when I walk around like for more than an hour with the shoes that it's not really good for me. And I always struggled how to find really nice sneakers for running and for just walking around the city. And we were like, hey, this is an interesting idea. It's not only me and my friends who have this problem. It's a lot of people who struggling to buy shoes online, especially during this whole COVID situation when all the malls were closed. And we started this project as the how to find the best fitting shoe app. For that, we developed a computer vision algorithm. Essentially, it's a couple of photos of your foot that creates a 3D model. We, like as a team, has 7 years experience in computer vision and how to make the apps, especially apps with computer vision. Before that, we were like the makers of the app called Prisma with 150 million users worldwide. It was a photo editing apps that applied AI effects to your photos and make your photos look more pretty. So we decided, hey, we have the courage to invent something new in this space, and we decided we can make a better computer vision algorithms that is all around. We did this app, we launched it, and we quickly found that there are different kind of factors how people determine whether the shoe fits or not fit, and how really to use the 3D model of people's foot to kind of predict that. So we found that it's actually all these like overpronation, flat feet, hallux valgus, and other foot conditions that actually create a lot of influence of whether the certain person say the shoe is great fit or not a great fit. So it was like one of the major determinant factors that we found in research. And then we were like, hey, what if we can diagnose people? What if we can use the 3D model and some additional AI to classify if you're looking at this 3D model, looking at the whole like shape, whether the person have certain ailments. And we started this research. It was like more than a year, and we came up that yes, that's actually possible, and it's possible to do with pretty good accuracy. Then we started really have some contracts with several doctors here in Poland that was helping us to label the data. They basically were seeing the patients. They asked patients who came to their offices whether they're okay to participate in scientific study, and basically take a couple of pictures of their foot with the phone. Then we also had some data about these patients. It was all anonymized for us, whether the doctors think that they have a certain ailment or not. And that's how we trained our AI. And it appeared that it's actually pretty accurate. But as an interesting byproduct of all this story, we were like thinking how to make it more scalable, the data collection kind of more scalable. And we found that we built a simple tool for doctors to see all these 3D images and just the 2D simple images of the patients that came through the office. And we found that they can actually diagnose people right away from looking at the 3D models of the pain map, the person where does it hurt question asked in 3D for the patient. And we were like, wow, this is actually could be a much more interesting product than it was like from the beginning, because we could help doctors to streamline this whole process. And we were fascinated with this idea. We proposed some additional research to Harvard guys, And this is how it's all started to grow. We like accidentally found that it's actually a need from the doctors to see their patients, like not really see, but to enable telehealth experience for podiatry and orthopedics, because as we speak right now within the camera, it's hard to diagnose, right? For example, me, when I'm speaking to you, because you have to see my foot and ask where does it hurt exactly. But within the app, it's all possible to collect these 3D models, and also it's possible to collect where does it hurt map. And it's pretty cool.
That's neat. It sounds like a neat new technology. It seems like it could help. And let's talk about where it's at right now. And I guess the current workflow is doctors they're taking pictures of every patient's foot and uploading to this. And I know someone's going to ask you about HIPAA. So whoever wants to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, maybe Josh could continue.
Yeah. So right now, the way it works is we have a direct-to-consumer model where folks are finding our app and they are going through the scan process and they're deciding, do I just want to use this to find a sneaker, or do I want to get an AI health assessment? And you have to pay right now to get an AI health assessment. All of the images that are taken stay on your phone. So nothing is sent to the cloud. So right now, from a HIPAA and or security standpoint, I know we haven't talked to how the doctors come in yet, but right now everything stays on the phone. So we're staying away from issues of sending random pictures of feet into the cloud. As far as how it's going to work with doctors, and just so you know, the patient portal that we're working on, that we've created, is in pilot phase right now. And so what it's going to do is it's going to integrate with the app. So a doctor, if it's okay with that, I explain kind of how this is going to work. Yeah. So a doctor would have either a QR code or a link that they would send to any patient. They could send it to all of their existing patients or new patients. The customer, the patient, can either click on the link or use their iPhone to scan the QR code. It would bring them to the app. They download the app, they'd scan their feet, and then after scanning their feet, and by the way, over 90% of people who go through the process, start the process, finish the process. So we like to think our user experience is very simple, very easy. I like to call it mom-proof. Anybody can do it, which is great. So after you've scanned your feet, that QR code is already assigned to, let's say you, Dr. Pelto, and it would say, do we have permission to send your 3D images and your information to Dr. Pelto? Yes.
So are you foreseeing this? So is this before they actually come in? Because if I'm seeing them, I know how their feet are. I think it would be cool to test it and have them. But basically, this would be the before the visit type of thing, right?
This would be a before the visit type. Exactly. We call it digital triage, but yeah, this is kind of a before you see them. It could be with somebody you've seen before, perhaps haven't seen in a couple of years. But yes, we like to think it would be a great way to find potentially new patients, but it also, for patients that maybe you haven't seen in 6 or 7 years, be a great way to say, hey, this is how we're now able to see you if you have any new pain in your knees, your back, your feet. And so this would be a way for them to send you that information, any notes that they have. They would fill out a pain quiz. And now you would go into your portal. Let's say you've got an hour between patients. You could go into your portal and there'd be a list potentially of, let's say, 3 or 4 folks who have sent you their information. So now you can go in there and you can see the 3D images. You can see what our AI has diagnosed them with. Now, again, it's our AI. AI is not always perfect, but it is. The numbers we're seeing are about 80% right now. But of course, the doctor's going to go in there. They're going to see what the AI has recommended. And then the doctor's going to go in and say, no, I don't think that's right. Or yes, I agree. Based on these 3D images, that looks like it's about right. And then they can see any notes. They can then go to a page, and Artem's going to show this portal momentarily.
You can go ahead and show it, Artem, if you want to.
Yeah, Artem, if you want to pull it up.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to go in and they'll be able to write notes to the patient, and there'll be a list on the side here, or there'll be a drop down where they'll be able to recommend particular sneakers. This is the pain quiz. So reversing about 30 seconds here, you'll see these are some of the photos. Again, this is just a pilot, but you'll see some of the photos that will be coming through for doctors to evaluate. And then you'll also have the health risks. Now, over on the right side here, they'll be able to see that, our AI said that this particular person has high risk of overpronation and high risk of longitudinal flat foot. So there'll be a place, it's not on here right now, but the doctor will be able to say, yes, I agree with that, or no, I disagree, or I half agree, for instance. And then the customer, or the patient will be able to go in here and say where they have pain. And so hopefully between those three factors, the doctor perhaps can say, yeah, I feel very confident that this person has plantar fasciitis, for instance. And then on the next page, they'll be able to go in, and for treatment, they can choose insoles, which I know every doctor has, probably their 2 or 3 or 4 brands that they stick with, or maybe they have custom insoles. So because this is going to be your own portal, we'll be able to load whatever you want in here, as well as the prices that you want listed. And we can set it up so they'll be able to order and have them shipped to them. Like they can pay with Apple Pay, just like they paid for the initial treatment, or for the initial appointment. So we see this as a way potentially out of network. And, from the doctors we've talked to, we've asked them, what kind of price do you think that doctors could charge? We've heard around $150. The price of a good pair of shoes is potentially what somebody would pay to get the ability to see a doctor remotely and send their information in and get recommendations on how to fix their pain without actually ever going into an office. Now, through the app, you'll also be able to, and this is not built in yet, but you'll also be able to set it up so that you can do a synchronous, visit.
Telehealth.
Exactly. Or obviously, if there's a situation where you see a major problem, like, hey, you can write back, I really think I need to see you in person, and I think you should come in and see me in person. But we think, and again, this is based on conversations with a lot of doctors, we think that if, for instance, let's say we charged $1,000 per month, for instance, for the portal, and a doctor is charging, let's say, $150 per patient. If you can see an extra 10 or 15 patients, or 20, or however many you want to see, I guess, or can see in a month, then we think this can be a great way for doctors to make some additional income, both through seeing patients as well as recommending orthotics to these patients as well, because I know orthotics is a fairly significant moneymaker for podiatrists. So it's going to be a new, it's not going to take the place of you seeing patients in person, but I think especially with the asynchronous connecting with patients, potentially, because some maladies can be diagnosed, we think, through this portal using the 3D images, we think some doctors, because it's not going to be through insurance, can go through here and realistically look at the problem, see the notes, see the pain map, and diagnose what the problem is, and write up a treatment for that person. And we think people are willing to pay, whether it's 100 or 150 or 200, the doctor will be able to dictate how much they charge per visit. So we want to make this an autonomous thing for the doctor. It's not, there will be a base model, if you will, but we'll be able to customize it for each individual doctor so they can run their business the way that they want to run it.
That's neat.
Thanks.
So I guess I can give you either my thoughts, or you can ask me other questions. I guess we have some time here. What do you, what's the best way?
Well, Artem, do you have anything you want to add before?
No, I guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'd be great if you want to ask questions, Dr. Pelto.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I always do something like kind of like a SWOT. So I think the benefit, the good parts, it's a really good, easy like template here. It's easy on the eyes. I'm sure the scanner is probably idiot proof, where it probably makes the portion of the foot color a different color. So when you take the picture, you can actually see you have good images and things like that.
Right. Yes.
I'm kind of an entrepreneur guy. That's the way I am.
Okay.
So my biggest benefit is really, if you use the word laser, if you use the word 3D scan, if you use these words, they are like magic words that people like in general. And so when you say to patients, like I even see more, I know you're probably wanting the app portion to do it okay, and that's romantic. But if you're really with a busy doctor like me, I don't have an hour ever break. Sure. Or if I do, I'm doing something else. Right. But what I'm just sharing like the real benefit.
Yeah, this is great.
The real benefit, in my opinion, is if I send out 1,000 of these to my patients, and let's say I send it out, I'm just throwing this out like every quarter along with an email, and they can do a quick scan of their foot. Like that's a wow factor. Sure. And it's interacting with the patients, and then afterwards you say, I can take a look at it, but probably you can just have them come into the office. It's going to be a lot better and a lot more profitable than doing it asynchronistically. Okay. So I think asynchronous is probably good for someone that's not as busy. Right. But most of the people that are listening, they're probably out straight seeing patients. But I like the cool factor, if you guys like marketing, there's a guy named Dan Kennedy. He talks about shock and awe. Yeah. And basically, before you see a patient, you're already increasing your reputation with this shock and awe. Basically, hey, part of the pre-visit preparation is we're going to send you this link. We're going to want you to scan your foot. I'm sure there's going to be a lot less no-shows because they're scanning their feet and that's sending it to you. And so like a no-show for us costs what, $150 to $200 for a no-show. Sure. Second thing is then they're curious about it, about that scan. And even going to the next level, like all of our scanners for orthotics currently, for custom orthotics, are all 3D scanners, a little bit different than what you do because we have to position the foot, but it's almost preparing them for when they come in and we're going to do a real 3D scan of your foot. And so we can mold your orthotics. So there's a couple of different ways of doing this. I think selling a over-the-counter arch support is probably okay. Frankly, in our office, we don't do any over-the-counter. We only do custom.
You only do custom, okay.
And the reason for that is, over the counter, like $20, they're going to need to replace them every 6 months, maybe every $50. And most people have tried that before they see us.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And it's in their best interest to get something custom. And so, but I know some doctors, they sell a lot more than just the orthotics. So you could add other things. And it seems like it's limited kind of the orthopedic, but I'm almost thinking if they have like a verruca or a wart, if you had the picture, you could talk about the wart as well. If you had an ingrown toenail, you could take a picture of the ingrown toenail, other things like that. We do something similar right now. We have a HIPAA secure texting in our office. So they do something similar. They take a picture, send it to us, and then then it downloads to the chart. Another thing is if you could automatically almost sync with an EMR. I know that's real expensive to set up those syncs, but syncing the images directly into the EMR would make it a lot easier. I work with another third-party vendor within the EMR called Patient Education Genius, PEG. And what it does is I can send out patient education information to patients after the visit, and it links to my EMR. So it pulls in their demographic information, but it automatically documents it in the EMR as well. So the less documentation, the better, because something like this would almost need to be documented, either downloading images into the EMR or something, setting it separate. Because the challenge I have, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, is that if I'm in Massachusetts and I'm only board certified in Massachusetts, I can't treat anyone outside of Massachusetts, but my entrepreneurial mind thinks, gosh, I could just add this to my YouTube channel and you could do tons of scans, but I couldn't make official recommendations, right? You'd have to use the AI component to do the official. And like thinking as an entrepreneur for you guys, if you get really good at selling this app or people downloading this app, you could also be a referral service to different states. Right. Hey, we got these 60 people in New York. who wants them, then you could do
We've thought about that.
Yeah.
I guess our only concern was that if we signed up some doctors to use that are going to pay for the portal, are we stepping on their toes by potentially having other referrals within the app for, let's say, you
a
get real
ZocDoc
specific.
almost. You're almost like imitating ZocDoc. It's a
Yes,
So
right.
they make appointments for doctors, because really, where's the if you think about, I always think about this, like, what's the largest check? Okay,
Right.
like there's largest check and there's minimal checks,
Sure.
and really, if I had 5 patients come in or 10 patients come in, and you charge me, and the cost would be for 1 patient visit, and I got 10, that would make sense all day long.
Right.
So you have to kind of
you would pay a flat. I mean, the way we look at it,
yeah, it's a SaaS. Yes.
Yeah, you pay a flat fee. And we haven't figured out exactly what that'll be yet, but then you can see as many patients as you want. Now, my only concern for you with not concern, but you mentioned the wow factor, which is fantastic. We hadn't really even thought about that yet. But the question then is, if you're not making money directly off of the app, is it worth it to you to pay for it?
Yeah. And so the reason I would, like, let's talk about me. If it worked for me, or if I would do it, I would send it out to all my patients, and I would use it as more of a screening tool get them in the office.
Sure.
Because for me, it's much more profitable than selling a $50 insert, whereas I can have them come in and get $600 worth of shockwave treatment. Sure. Or I'm going to do a diagnostic ultrasound, or I'm going to get my x-rays. They're going to get that office visit. Like the orthotic is like peanuts compared to what an actual visit is. That's the way I think of it. So it's not just the wow factor. It's I can get them in a lot quicker, and they can, kind of try to.
Actually, that you could say, listen, I went through your scans. Looks like this is potentially, and it says you're having problems here and you're having pain here. From what I can tell, yeah, let's make a visit.
Or like what I have is I have a foot quiz on my website, and it very similar, like choose your own adventure. Here's some information if this doesn't help you, and you can almost automate it. You could have an email that would go out from this. Take a quick look. Okay, I think you should do this. If that doesn't work, come into the office. Like, you give them some AI driven treatments, and if that doesn't work, find a podiatrist.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Anyway, those are my thoughts. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you very much. And
we're gonna. By the way, does it make sense to actually use this inside the office? Like, for example, nurse can just go to the patient, do all this 3D scan real quick, and it's just gonna be used like doctor time more efficient.
In my personal opinion, I think there's a cool factor. Okay. But you have to think, we really only have, it already takes patients too long to get them into the treatment room. Let's give another example. Optometry, when you go to see them for optometry, they do something called a retinal scan, okay, where you scan the back of the retina. It's a cash fee type of thing. I don't think I could charge patients for doing this in the office. I think certainly you could scan it, but I don't think scanning it and having them do the questionnaire is going to save us any time whatsoever, because most of the times patients are incorrect about what they have. They might think they have Achilles tendonitis and they have plantar fasciitis, or so it just, we're a lot quicker being a human. I don't see myself doing this, scanning everyone in the office. What I see it as them doing it on their own at home, giving some AI driven recommendations. If that doesn't work, then they follow up in the office.
Okay.
That's what I foresee, because the reason is I don't have time to contact them via email or maybe on the phone, but it's such a waste of time going back and forth unless you can do it. I like your idea of asynchronistically. So they do a little video, show us, we kind of give them some treatments, and I send them a couple of videos on YouTube they can try. Right. But I think of me, my mental stress, if I have to do that for 20 patients, it would just stress me out, because I'm already seeing 30 patients a day.
Yeah.
Doing that on the side for another 20 patients would be a stressor. So that's just my initial thought.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it, like you said, with you already seeing 30 patients, and I assume a lot of the great doctors are seeing that many, but maybe not all of them are. And for those who maybe aren't as busy, it could be a great way to see some additional patients and make some additional income, on the side. Or it can also be used almost as a marketing tool, which is how you're sort of describing it, to your existing patients and sending it to them because you can use the QR code as many times.
I really like your idea of the QR code, so it automatically documents the doctor. And then if you really want to get technical, right? Because this is kind of you can. I think the better benefit, I personally think, is if you could do this a pay for patient, and they would pay you for each patient, because really the money comes in. If we're talking purely finances,
Sure.
I'm willing to pay to play. That's how Google AdWords is and everything. If I say I'll give you 50 patients, I'll give you $50, whatever, or $100 every patient you get me. So it really puts the onus on you to make a good product, and in every appointment that's actually made and kept, I'll pay you $50 or $100 all day long.
Okay.
And so that really works on you guys working on marketing. You could even include in here, let's say, drip marketing based on diagnoses. You can add an email sequence that can go out. So there's a lot of other things that could be done with this app.
So you think the pay-per-play versus flat fee is a better model?
There is no, I would have no resignations of paying you $50 or $100 per patient that actually makes an appointment.
Okay.
You make them, I'll see them, I'll pay you all day long. But if you ask me, Don, would you pay $500? No, and the reason is the onus is on me.
Right.
The onus is on me to send it out to my patients. The onus is on my patients to use it. The onus is I have to be creative in how I'm going to use it to market it in my office. There's a lot of reasons why it wouldn't get done, and mostly it's just because of me. Now, if you could implement this in my medical record, so every new patient would get a QR code, and it would, like, the more you can automate things, the better, in my opinion. So if every new patient gets a link and does the scan, perfect. Okay. Then it's automated. So if you guys could automate this, then I might almost say yes.
Yeah.
If you give me a free month, you automate it, I get more than 5 patients from it, then I'll continue on. So 30 days free, you guys set up the automation in my EMR, and then I'll see what's coming in. That would make it fair, in my opinion, and there would be no reservations.
Okay. And as far as the EMRs, I mean, I guess the only issue is there are probably, how many EMRs are there?
Well, it doesn't, maybe it doesn't need to be that complex. Maybe it could just be a squeeze page or an email page, a registration page that every new patient would be also done in there. You basically put their email or text message in there, and it would,
like a database, essentially.
A database, and they would, even something simpler, they could add them to a Google Sheet, and that would be a RSS, that would be a pull into your system, and it would send them out this thing before they come in. That would even be the easiest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It would double the work a little bit, but like, you have to have a way to get this into their hands. And the more you leave the onus on the patients actually doing it, and don't leave it on the doctor, because it'll never get done. Like, we won't do anything. Like,
gotcha.
Even if we're paid for it, we're not going to do it. So I'm just letting you know that the truth.
No, I understand.
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah, because everyone's busy.
Yeah, everyone's busy. Exactly. No, that makes sense. Okay. That's
what other
interesting.
By the way, that's a super good question. Does it make sense to use our app to create custom orthotics? Because there is a possibility to do that. We have really full-fledged 3D. So it's not just a picture, it's actually a 3D model created by the phone. And we have this small 3D model of human foot without weight and with weight. So we use with weight for more diagnosing thing, and without weight for potential custom orthotics. So you can see the arch without the weight applied. And we also already working with 2 pilot companies that could 3D print orthotics using our 3D scans. We tested this. It's working pretty okay, and we just want to continue this test and maybe scale it to the real clinical use. But we don't really understand what's the best way actually here to proceed with custom orthotics, and how to make it profitable for doctors as a revenue to do custom orthotics through us and through these 3D scans. Yeah,
there's a good company you might want to reach out to called Forward Motion.
Okay.
Forward Motion. They're one of them. There are other companies. That's the one I currently use. My only thought is, right now, the drawback, both for us and for them, is right now I do a 3D scan in the office, and I do my prescription. The prescription is what I fill out. And then I think in the future, and it's even possible right now, you print it right in the office, right? It's not, we send them out and then they send them back. But having a patient do it somewhere else, and then me doing a prescription without looking at everything, is kind of a challenge. You could maybe make it for the bell curve, but the tails on each end, it's going to be a challenge. So if you did it AI driven, you probably get right maybe 60% of the time, pretty much the same as an over the counter one, right? Most people feel better in over the counter because it gives them a little bit of support, but you can't do anything really functional or biomechanically with it. So that's my thought, is you would still need to bring them in the office to evaluate the biomechanics for them. But let's say you had an AI driven 3D printed $50 or $100 one all day long. Okay. They could do that on their own, not really any doctor recommendations, just pretty much an arch support. But then the $600 one that we do in our office, they would have to come in for to get a we would use your scan and our whatever. Your scan,
no, that makes sense.
But
well,
that's
again,
my
I think
thought.
it would be for the $600 one, it'd be used as a preliminary scan that, like you said.
And you could even give them a discount. Let's say they get 100 for the first one, and then we'll give $100 off if you need to come and get a second one.
Right. Something like that. Oh, that makes sense.
Anyway, thank you guys. If people want to learn more about Neatsy, where do they go? What's the website?
They can go to Neatsy, NEATSY.ai. And they can, of course, reach out to us at sales@Neatsy or Josh at Neatsy. I would be more than happy to talk with any doctors that are interested in trying this out, piloting it for free. So, let us know, and we'll.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Art. Appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, guys.